Masters of the Universe 1987 is directed by Gary Goddard. This movie basically represents He-Man's first live-action adventure on screen. Now, with the latest installment coming to theaters soon, I thought, why don't you have a nostalgic look into this blast from the past? The story is basically about He-Man and his team. They are after, you guessed it, they are up against Skeletor and his men. All of them are after this very powerful device called the Cosmic Key. Now, if Skeletor gets his hands on this Cosmic Key, he's able to control the universe. He basically becomes the master of the universe, and he also can take over Eternia as well as Castle Grayskull. Now, He-Man obviously cannot allow that. However, this device gets teleported to Earth, because of which their quest not only like is limited to Castle Grayskull or Eternia, it also goes to Earth realm. And in fact, the majority of this movie, after I think the 20-minute mark, does take place on Earth. Now, I like that this plot is paper thin. It is not too complex. It is simple. It is easy to understand, as well as there's no unnecessary complexities. There's no unnecessary subplots, and there's no unnecessary world building. No, it's just He-Man and his team and his world. They have a singular goal and they go after it. So it is simple and tight, and definitely works for a 80s camp movie such as this. He-Man, however, is not alone in his quest. He's also accompanied by his teammates, Man-at-Arms, Teela, as well as Gwildor. Now, Gwildor in character in particular is not just a comic relief. I mean, I found him amusing and funny at times when he's on screen, but he's also a very important character. He's the only one who can control the key. He's the one who made it, and he knows how to. He knows in and out of the cosmic key, so he has the best knowledge of it. So he's very important for the team, and he's not just a side character. He's not just an ancillary character. Now, of course, let's talk about our main man, the He-Man. Now, Dolph Lundgren as He-Man has got to be some of the most epic castings ever. There are certain actors, they become synonymous with the role. They don't just embody it, they become synonymous with the role. And I think He-Man is one of them. Just look at Lord Dolph Lundgren here. He has the physicality, he has the look, he has the stature, and the presence. He literally was the best part of this film, I would say. He's one of the strong parts of this film. And also, you must understand that He-Man is not someone who requires some intense and in-depth acting. No, he requires basic acting skills, and that I think Dolph Lundgren really nails that. He's all about physicality. Physicality comes first with He-Man. So I think Dolph Lundgren really brings that. However, I'm also slightly disappointed that he did not portray Prince Adam. Prince Adam is an important alter ego to He-Man. But in this case, Dolph Lundgren was full-time He-Man. He was He-Man throughout the movie. Never got to see the Prince Adam side of him. And I think that would have been really nice, and it's obviously a missed opportunity because you really can you can add more complexity to the character. It adds more layer to the character, and it would have been more well-rounded. However, as good as He-Man was, Skeletor, his main arch nemesis, is just as bad. I mean, he's not just his appearance, but his characterization is also very underwhelming, to say the least. I mean, just look at Skeletor for a second. Does this look like a skull? They couldn't even nail his face properly. The skull face is one of the most iconic representation. That's his main representation of Skeletor. But yet they couldn't even get that right. His mask looks like something that is dripping off. It's like melting off his face. It was just horrendous, guys. I did not like his costume design at all. I guess his hoodie and the body wear was fine. I mean, the rest of his costume was all right, but his face was just all wrong. In fact, when I saw this in the movie, I was like, "Is this really Skeletor?" Yeah, that's the impression I got. And even his characterization is very, very lame. I mean, all he does is sit on his chair, on his throne, give bark orders. He just says a few things, and there's also barely any interaction between him and He-Man until the very, very end. I mean, come on. The fight between Skeletor as well as He-Man is supposedly one of the most iconic fights ever. It deserves its own section, its own place in the runtime. But no, they dumbed it out to a very underwhelming climax. They just fight for the sake of fighting. They just duke it out for the sake of it, and it just abruptly ends. It is just very, very sad and lame to me because this is very. This is one of the most epic fights, and they did not really. No, the choreography as well as how they placed it in the movie just did not match that. The one beauty of the Masters of the Universe franchise is it is a rare franchise which blends sci-fi elements as well as fantasy elements. I mean, think about it. You see laser guns, you see advanced weaponry, you see teleportation devices. At the same time, the characters are basically very primitive. They have this basic armor. They are sword and sandals basically. So I just like that they blend both of them just beautifully. That's one of the rare things and one of the most awesome things about this franchise. However, in this movie, I felt they did not do justice to that because the first 20 minutes was fine. In fact, the battle scenes during this time, it reminded me a lot about Star Wars. That's right. They took a lot of inspiration from Star Wars, and it is very much a sci-fi franchise, just like Star Wars. However, the scenes, the way they are constructed, the set pieces, the characters, and the kind of weapons they use, everything resembled that. However, when they come to Earth, like I said earlier, this movie takes place for the majority of the runtime on Earth, and I think that was a major disservice because yes, it had its moments, but if it had taken place more in Eternia, more in Grayskull, you would have seen more of those fantastical and sci-fi elements blended together. It would have felt more at home, but that didn't happen unfortunately because what I felt was when it came to Earth, it was all dumbed down. They basically look like a couple of cosplay characters. They're just dressed up in costume and just running around, and people are weirded out by them. This is what I forgot. This is the impression I got about them. The filmmakers basically did not effectively transfer Eternia or the elements of it to Earth for us to make us feel it is part of the same franchise. That was a bit of a letdown to me. However, it is also understandable because as you can see in this movie, throughout this movie, in fact, the practical effects are great, the animatronic effects are great. However, the CGI is dated. We can easily say that it's from the 80s or 90s, late 90s era, because as you can see, the laser that comes out of the guns as well as the teleportation effects, all these look very dated and they don't look convincing at all. But this is a forgivable thing as it depends on technology of the time. However, I still feel they could have done a better job with placing the characters more in Eternia than on Earth. However, it is not all doom and gloom on Earth as well. I mean, we have James Tolkien as the detective. I found him very impressive. I found him like a very good presence. He's not the main character here. I mean, he does have a significant presence on Earth, but I cannot consider him as a main character. But he really stole the show for me. I mean, Tolkien really embodied the character to perfection. He was very interesting to see on screen. And the other thing I really liked and I found honestly a bit cute on Earth is the way they were fascinated by the otherworldly creatures, especially someone like Gwildor or the technology from their era, from their realm. It was really fascinating to see the reactions and how they were like trying to understand what was going on. And oh look, the pink car from the RoboCop 2 has made an appearance in this film. It's a cameo from the car. Pretty damn cool, I would say. And of course, the one thing that really stands out to me is yes, I did say that Skeletor is a bad representation. However, there is one good thing to the character, Frank Langela's performance. I mean, he really nailed this character. He was having fun with this character. In fact, it's because of his over the top performance that I can even bear to see Skeletor in this movie. I mean, otherwise, like I said, it's a bad interpretation of the character, and definitely could have done way better. But Frank Langella was having a blast with this character, and that itself was a real watch. It was really fun to see. So overall, guys, I can say this is a very good movie. Not by any means. The writing was bad in certain places. I mean, they could have done a lot of things better in this, but they didn't. And also, it had a very low budget, which also contributed to its quality. And it was a commercial and critical failure of its time. So none of this indicates that it's a good movie. However, if you want some nostalgia, if you want some of those delicious 80s cheese and camp, if you really want to see He-Man and Skeletor action figures come to life, and you want to get into the He-Man mood, I would definitely recommend this movie. Do check it out, and do so before getting to the theater to watch the latest installment. It will be a fun time and also a fun marathon. So, what do you guys think? Do you like this movie? Do let me know in the comments below, and do consider liking, sharing, and subscribing. It would mean a lot to me. And let's embrace cinema together. And until my next video, bye for now.